across the board at all of our sports are going to face a new and energizing competitive challenge.
Pat is a unique personality and athlete. I think it's amazing the way he kind of goes between a basketball locker room and a baseball locker room and does it seamlessly. And when he comes to our locker room, those are innings that somebody else was pitching. And no one seems to begrudge for a second that here's this kid who just walked in, hasn't really been with us since October, and is now just taking those innings.
They've been accepting enough to let me come on board and halfway through the year, which I mean, I'm sure a lot of people would frown upon at other schools, but here they've been nothing but accepting of me coming halfway through the year.
The uniqueness of his athleticism, I think, is, I mean, here's a kid who's, I guess he's probably playing, what, like sort of a 2 or a 3 for those guys, an athletic kid, gets rebounds, he's, getting assists, he's getting some turnovers here and there, creating some of that stuff. I mean, he's kind of a, it seems like to me, like on the basketball court, he's sort of a jack of all trades for that team, And, to have that skill set and then have it transfer over right into baseball. And I think the first pitch of the year that he threw, he comes out down at Duke, and they've just gotten eliminated, I believe on Wednesday. He's pitching on Sunday at Duke, and it's 96. It was the first pitch out of his hand.
Ryan Dietrich leading it off. Opening pitch is fouled straight back by Dietrich.
It's amazing to me just because I got to credit the baseball coaching staff. I mean, there were times where I was unable to throw until 9 p.m. and they'd come in and throw with me and make sure I got my work in. I never thought that I'd be able to hit 96 when I was coming out of high school, or hit 96 when I was in 8th grade, or pitching in Little League with my friends back home. I mean, that was never really a reality I thought of. I mean, I always wanted to, and I honestly think that there can be more in the tank since I haven't focused on it. At the end of the day, I got to attribute my coaches to that, because without their help and without the trainer's help of keeping my arm in shape and healthy, which is the most important thing, that wouldn't have been possible.
He hasn't had, from a statistics standpoint, the greatest season, but you never see any sort of back off. You never see him, making a pitch that looks like it was influenced by, I kind of hope this goes over home plate. I mean, he's going for his pitches, and I think that it shows some remarkable mental toughness. He's that guy who competes like a warrior on the court or on the field, but in the clubhouse or in the locker room or whatever it happens to be, he just goes along, and he's a lot of fun to be around. I kind of learned to not put Pat in a box, I think that if I were to look at it in a very traditional way, I think that Pat is probably going to go someplace in the top 4 or 5 rounds, and that would mean that more than likely he's going to sign. I think that for him, I've come to realize that the passion, obviously, that he has for hoops, and so I think he's going to be adamant about whatever club's drafting him, that they're going to allow him to come back in August and start preparing for his senior hoop season.
I think the reality of the situation is anything could happen. I mean, I could get drafted in baseball if I'm lucky enough. I could play professional baseball and come back and play basketball next year. But I could also not. I could also come back and play both next year. One thing that will kill me is not being able to play with the kids on the baseball team. I mean, I'll become very close with them. It's just going to have to be a decision that when the time comes I'm going to have to make, whether it's stay here and play baseball or play professionally and come back and play basketball here. One way or another, you'll see me next year.